evening. We're a little bit late with this review because of the meeting on today at Wyong, the lead up to the Wyong Cup next Friday. I'll let you know what happened at Wyong today in a minute. Of course, last Saturday, the provincial meeting at Kembla Grange was washed out due to the bad weather we've had in Sydney, the wet weather. So we didn't have any provincial meeting last Saturday. We got to Warwick Farm on Wednesday. Now we had a track there that was downgraded from a heavy 8 after some more rain. It rained during race 2. There was steady rain during race 3, and I think that might have been the end of it. It was. It was enough to downgrade this, say the track was a heavy 10 in the eyes of the Stipes, and the fence wasn't the place to be. You could lead on this track and win, as did in the second race. The winner sat outside the leader. That was the favourite High Above, and of course in race 4 it led Handsome Tycoon, the favourite, but always well off the fence. When they turned for home, he was 8 off the fence. The runner inside him was Rybeck, the 10-year-old, and as I say, if you stayed near the fence, you were a shot duck, but you could be near the lead, and and if you got plenty of pace, you could sit back in the field. A little bit harder than usual to make up ground. It wasn't a real swoopers track, but you could, if you got a lot of pace, you could make up ground from behind. I think there was only one, it wasn't that far behind them when they got to the turn. It was Copy, who drew a wide alley, got onto the back of the favourite there, Sensualism, and rounded them up. It didn't come from, it might have been only in about 5th position coming to the turn. So up near the lead, I suppose, and off the track was the place to be at Warwick Farm on Wednesday. The meeting at Gosford, of course, on Thursday was abandoned due to the wet weather. So then we got to Rosehill yesterday, and Rosehill yesterday, the track was given out a heavy 8. The rail was 6 metres out, and it was downgraded to a heavy 9. I think it was after race 2, where we had a little bit of a shower before then, and we had light rain during race 5, and very misty rain after that. But the track was most certainly heavy, and we saw the situation, of course, where the fence, as I said, the rail was 6 metres out. The fence was the place to be, saving ground on the fence, and getting up on the inside, maybe getting a little bit off, but even staying close to the fence, as the last winner did, of course. Never went around a runner and stayed close to the fence, was off the fence when they got down to the line, but at the 100-metre mark was not far off it. It was the best place to be. So when we get to the run to the Rose, we'll can easily say that the winner was most probably the best win all day. Now, in this first race today at Rosehill, or yesterday, we only gave, we captains only gave 101% in this first race. Less the Toyota Lexus, of course, which makes it losing figures. I must say it was a result for the captains. I gave 6-4 the field, Burning Passion. and it was given on by one of our biggest captains on the fence, but it didn't reach the fluck board, of course. Only started $2.30, $2.30, 11 to 8 the field, a fraction less. Of course, it sat back. There was only a field of 7. Sat back in second last position. Tried to make up ground. I suppose it's a bit disappointing, but as I said, wasn't in the right section of ground. The winner, Swainesi, it sat back in last position on the fence. Scraped paint all the way turning for home. Got slightly held up, losing its momentum a couple of times, but was in the worst section of the ground. But by the same token, will be greatly improved by that run. It was resuming, but it was in the right section of the track, as I say. And it got up on the inside of the second pick here, First Seal, who drew barrier 1 and sat directly behind the leader, who was Hampton Court. Got inside it after they turned for home, and the winner got inside it. So if you bit the bullet straight away early in the piece, you could say that the fence was the place to be, and it did. And it turned out, if you did bite that bullet, you were quite correct. The fluctuations, the run of it was very hard to lay, of course. Even though we only gave 101, was the second horse, First Seal, who went from $3.20 out to $4.60, more or less didn't have a price. And if you gave $13 the winner, which I did see, Swainesi, it was taken, the $13, the best luck being only 12. But it was a result for the captains. Race 2, well, we got 104% here in this race, with maybe 1 or 2 runners not layable. And here we saw the winner being on the fence in this distance race, coming to the turn and getting off the fence onto that crown section of the track where when the rail was in the normal position last meeting at Rosehill. When they got to that crown, as we all saw, and it was the right place to be. But saving ground in the run was an advantage here today. And the 3 place getters all were on the fence. The runner that ran third in the race, Miss Venus, she's not that strong. She led and ran third, beaten 1.7 lengths and stayed close to the fence all the way. The second horse, which was Zapparella, who the visitor from Victoria, it was on its back, got around its heels, saved ground on the fence, beaten only 0.2 of a length, and coming from past midfield, there were a couple of breaks in this race, the first 4, then we had another 3, and then the tail of 5 runners, and it was back there with them. But on the fence, ambivalent, and did have a current bun, it had the inside alley, saved ground. He hooked off heels, Jay Collette, after they'd straightened, and he was able to finish a little bit too strong for the other pair who had the good advantage of the fence. And as I say, only won by 0.2 of a length, but did make up plenty of ground. Well, the 4th horse, it was in 5th position, but won off the fence. Saving that little bit of ground on the fence was a big help. Race 3, we only got 95% in this race. The Sydney captains, who bet lovely losing figures most of the time, especially on Saturdays. With the market, you know, there are corporates who do go up on Thursday afternoon, put markets up for Saturday. So there is, you know, your Thursday afternoon and evening, Friday and evening, and Saturday morning. And then of course, on Friday, scratchings start to appear. And, well, the market starts to level out. And by the time we put them up at the track, the There are very few mistakes in the market, I suppose, unless there's been bias on the track, all of a sudden appears. And then we've got to deal with the professionals, and we make a nice bird of it by getting, as I say, in this race, offering only 95% to those who can get to the track. It is by far the best place to be for your punting dollar. There's nowhere else to be bar the track. And here, well, we saw Horseman Bowman on Gregory Aeroplane jump out and lead early, but then he let the 30 or 60 into 30 to 1 chance Prince of Sophia go around him, and he sat, as it turned out, 3 back on the fence. We put it up 7-2, more or less equal favourite. We put them up 7-2 each of 3. Pentometer, Gregory Aeroplane, and Jojo Girl. Jojo Girl didn't have a price, went from $4.60 out to $6, whereas Gregory Aeroplane, we put it up the $4.60 mark, got out to $6, but back, which you wouldn't see, back into $5. And Pentometer, who started favourite, was $4.60 out to $5, back into $4.80. It started equal second pick with the winner, Gregory Aeroplane, and that was Aino Dagus, the runner who won at Warwick Farm, the import trained by Chris Lees. It sat back past midfield, one off the fence. It plugged away. It ran fourth, beaten about 8.3 lengths, but it didn't have the advantage of being on the fence. Whereas the winner, as I said, sat back on the fence. When they turned for home, the Prince of Sophia, the 30 to 1 chance after $61 with bet, it was leading. Right behind on the fence was Mullet Man, who went around again today at Wyong. It was beaten yesterday 37.6 lengths and had a perfect run right behind the leader on the fence. The lady is on her way back to, I think she trains at Grafton, doesn't she? Mrs. R. Cooper, or up north somewhere. So she left Rosehill yesterday. She's on our way back. I won't scratch this horse. I'll have a trot around at Wyong today, and it finished up running third, so it paid some expenses. It was on the fence directly behind the leader, as I say. When they turned for home, Horseman Bowman got inside Mullet Man and then around Princess of Sophia, then back to the fence and won by 5.5 lengths. It saved ground on the fence. It came off its back, Forever Crazy. It tailed the winner. And who ran third in the race? The runner who tailed Forever Crazy, and that was Calliot. So the first, second and third, emphasising how good the fence was. They were always on the fence, and they ran the placings. Race 4, we bet losing figures here again, only 96%. And this winner, Maroon Bay, was able to find the lead, did draw barrier 5 in a field of 9, and I couldn't work out how, I suppose they couldn't change their mind or change their not their mind, but go back to the Stipes and say, oh look, we're going to, now that we've seen how the track is playing, we're going to ride this horse like it wants to race. And I'm talking about Runway Star. Of course, they said, on my map, I had it going straight to the lead from barrier 1, which was the place to be as it turned out. But they made an application to the stewards early in the day. They said, can we ride this maybe just a little bit off the pace from that alley, maybe sit, just behind with barrier 1. And they did that exactly. But that gave the opportunity for Maroon Bay, who was always going to go forward, but not sit outside the lead or off the fence, but being able to cross Runway Star, find the 18 pence and the lead, get a lovely run in front, being steered by James McDonald, and he was able to, well, couldn't have gone 1 inch faster. It won by 0.4 of a length. Who did it beat? It beat Runway Star. I think I'd say they're absolutely kicking themselves for not leading. Running third was the runner who sat outside the leader, and that was Maysoon. Both Runway Star and Maysoon had a little bit of a bumping duel up the straight, and the margins were only 0.4 by 0.5 of a length. But as I say, I think they might be filthy now. They didn't lead on Runway Star and let Maroon Bay sit on the outside. With the way the track played, I would say there was every chance that Runway Star would have won the race. The visitor from Melbourne, Jamaica, well, we put it up a 9-2 chance, and it got out to $7, which you wouldn't see, came back into 6. Forget its run, like Oh So Adorable. Both of those runners were trapped wide in the run, and it wasn't the place to be today. The winner, we put it up the 7-2 favourite, Maroon Bay, and bookies quickly reached for it out to as much as, or plenty, of $5.50, but it came in after being backed by one of the pros for an absolute shite houseful into about $4.20. I think there might have even been $6 given around the place about this runner, and as I say, it got the advantage of leading on the fence, and that got it home. Race 5, well, this was disgraceful. The captains, we were giving section away here, only 93% we gave. These were the flux in this race. Would the owners of Lucky Chappie please step forward? A $8.50 chance, we put it up 15-2, got out to 20-1, $21. Eaglestein went from $6 out to $7.50, back into $7, back out to $6.50. Gallatin, 15 out to 25, which you wouldn't see, back into 21. Mighty Lucky, from $11 out to 16. Tougher Than Ever, $4.60 out to $5.50, back into $4.60. Dean Martin, wasn't he a croon? He was a member of the Rat Pack. $16 out to 21 was Dean. Geez, it would have been I would have liked to have gone out to had a night out in the town with Dean. Wouldn't have been a great time. Beyond Thankful, who was most disappointing because it led on the fence, and Horseman Bowman had an easy time in the lead, and right on the 18 pence, which was the place to be. It went disgraceful. It ran second last, beaten 5.5 lengths. We put it up $3, got out to $3.20, back into $2.60 at one stage because of its alley. And everyone had jerried that the inside was the place to be. It drew the inside, barrier 1, current bun. It's got out to $2.80 again at the finish. And the winner, Rugged Cross, the stablemate of the favourite, Rugged Cross. When the favourite was back, the $3.20 went off. We couldn't reach for Rugged Cross quick enough. $5.50 we put it up. 9-2, third pick. We got it out to $9 like a bushfire. Out to $9, and then all of a sudden that same pro and all of his followers said, well, we'll snap that up, and it was $9 into $5.50. So it was 8-9-2 after it came back into its opening price. 9-2 out to 8s, back into the 9-2, and it sat in the 1-1 position, which wasn't an advantage. It was able to, leading on the fence, as I said, was the favourite. On its outside was Mighty Lucky, tucked away behind them on the fence, Tougher Than Ever, who I thought would lead, but it jumped a bit awkwardly. It was on the fence behind the favourite, went in between the two leaders turning for home. It ran second, beaten 1.3 lengths, had every possible chance, and on its outside in the 1-1 was Rugged Cross. Likes the conditions, likes the heavy going, and it beat It beat tougher than ever. Its stablemate, another stablemate, he'll have every runner in the race. They won't have to put the trainers' names in the paper shortly. They'll say you just have to open up the paper and you say who trains that on the program. Waller's got every runner in every race. Oh, good. What a good boy he is too. As I say, in the 1-1, and it was able to get around, just ease off Mighty Lucky's heels and was too strong. We only gave 93% there. The runner trained by Anthony Cummings, Spider Coda, he made an application to the Stipes after we got more rain from the heavy 8 down to the heavy whatever it was. He said, look, I'd like to scratch this, and the Stipes said yes. So it was going to be well in the market, of course, before it's scratching. And you never know. You never know. If you never ever go, it might have been a different result if it raced in that race. The next race, race 6, just to make sure we've got that Burley out there to keep these grumble and grunters in business. We only gave 98%. And this winner, I was talking to a Captain Cookie who was betting pre-post on the run to the Rose and run to the Roses and whatever it is, and he said it was he laid it in the morning at 20 to 1, and well, after looking at this race, you would have to say it would be. I haven't looked at any markets. I hadn't even looked at any markets prior to that. Any pre-post markets for the race. Excuse me. But I would say, after seeing the way it ran against the bias and won, it would have to be favourite. They raced in pairs. As I say, we only gave 98. It went to the front sniper fire. On its outside, Egret. Then we had Nostradamus, who was most disappointing, pulled up with a poor recovery rate, tucked away third on the fence, the place to be. On its outside, Almahad, who hadn't trialled but had a couple of good exhibition trial races in between races at the track, Canterbury and Randwick. We had on the fence Law from Barrier 1, on its outside Scratch Me Lucky, a bit of a break to Cumon back on the inside, and on its outside the winner Hallowed Crown, back on the fence in last position, Modoc, who was eased at the start to go across to there, and Sarajevo on its outside. When they turned for home, the back markers who were on the outside of runners started to peel a bit wide, and this runner just sailed down the outside. It ran second after being on the fence Cumon, but it had the advantage of, it was on the inside of the winner, but it had the advantage of that help being on the fence, and as I say, it had to hook around heels the winner and come wide, but rounded them up and won by 0.8 of a length. Was resuming from a spell, like quite a few of the other runners, and will be greatly improved. I would say it would have to be the Avery for the big race next week. The fluctuations, as I say, we only gave 98. It was 11 to 4 out to $5, which you wouldn't see. There plenty of $5 Alma had. Back into $4.20, back out to $5 at the end of betting. Nostradamus, 350 out to 380, back into, I was 320 when they jumped. I think to be returned, I was standing for something, I was desperate to lay it for more. It was $3.20 for whatever you wanted. Hallowed Crown, a big result for the captains. It was the one runner, the Grumble and Grunters said, no, you captains, you can have Hallowed Crown for yourselves. And we said, oh, well, please, can't someone take the $7.50? We're only giving 98% here, you know. And they said, no, stick it up your jumper. It's yours. And as it turned out, I pulled it straight out of my jumper and put it straight in my sky after the race. It was a beautiful result. Hallowed Crown went from $5.50 out to $7.50. Law went from $14 out to 18. Scratch Me Lucky, 12 out to 16, which you wouldn't see, back into $11 only. Cumon, 16 out to 19, back into 16. Modoc went from 70 out to $151. Sniper Fire, well back, 26 into 17. Sarajevo, now it went $6.50 out to $8, back into 7. But then at the finish of betting, you couldn't give it away at $10. And the bottom one, they put a poultice on this. It sat outside the leader, egret, and it was $16 out to $21, which you wouldn't see, back into 11. Not going to say any more. Race 7, 101% only in this race. Here we saw Greatwood. Where was it going to be in the run? Gay had 2 runners in this race, Greatwood and Bonfire. Gay owns the lead. Greatwood, as most people who do those lovely maps where the runners are going to be, would have most certainly said that Greatwood's going to be right near the lead from barrier 1. It's only an 1,800 metre race, a short run to the first turn, and they advantage the inside alleys anyway. Plus, the track was playing to the inside, and we put it up $4.60, and bookies couldn't reach for it quick enough. Out to $7 for whatever you wanted. 7 to 2 to 6s came back in, started 9 to 2, only $5.50 towards the end of betting. It did lead because Gay owns the lead. Bonfire, the stablemate, it was directly behind it on the fence and ran second after having every possible chance. And the favourite who drew wide in this race, He's Your Man, who was very well back. You wouldn't see it, $4.60 given, $4.20 out to $4.60 back into $3.80. It sat outside the leader. Well, it stuck on very well because the first and second had the advantage of being on the rails, saving ground, even though it was one off. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but it was an advantage. In the 1-1 was Who Shot the Barman, and a couple of runners got trapped a bit wide in the race. One was at the 40 into 30 to 1 chance Celtic Prince, and the other was Sabre Trofino. It was $17 out to $26. Both got trapped wide. They were longish odds, but still give a little bit of an extra tick for their runs. The first and second got the charmer of the bias in their favours, in their favour, and ran the Cornella, and the favourite stuck on well for third. What else do you say there? Well, even the fourth place getter, who was the visitor from Melbourne, Wish Come True. I always wish for good health. That's what I always wish for. Excuse me, I don't sound very healthy at the moment. Wish Come True. It was, where was it? It was 4 back on the fence, beaten 3.6 lengths. Again, emphasising what an advantage it was. And here we come to the last, and what an advantage it was, because I had this runner, Wineholt, who we saw was sensationally back last start and put in a better effort than it looked, because it was trapped wide all the way. Now today, how many barriers did it come in? It came in 1. It came in 2. It had barrier 9 in a field of 12, and ridden by Miss Linda Beach. What a great rider this young lady is. She eased it after jumping back in the field, and then gradually kept on looking to her inside, and found a position back in the field, 4 back on the fence. The runners that were on the fence, leading on the fence was Fort Sumter, behind it on the fence, 2 Blue, who was drew barrier 1 and was extremely disappointing. On its back was Murder of Crows, who got off the fence and caused a bit of interference when it ducked out a little bit on Horseman Bowman. No fault of Horseman Bowman's, of course. And then tailing it through was the winner, Winehole. Well, she didn't go where Bowman went. She stuck to the 18 pence and never went around a runner and finished up winning by 0.8 of a length. So she saved ground on the right part of the track, emphasising again the fence was dynamite. And so other runners in this race, for instance, Cluster, who drew wide and also copped a bit of a check when Murder of Crows fanned, and there was a concertina effect to runners who were making runs out wide. They all had to shift ground slightly, and another runner which that happened to was Reflectance, and both Cluster was eased from its wide gate to back into last position, and then came widest on the turn, going around Reflectance, and Reflectance was a little bit held up, and then like Cluster got that slide check, and both of those runners made up ground right down the outside. And even sitting handy in 4th position, but a little bit off the fence and maybe 3 wide for a little part of the journey, was Mount Nebo, and it stuck on well for 3rd position. Murder of Crows ran 4th, and Reflectance made up a lot of ground from back down the outside, not the place to be, into 5th hole, beaten out those. There was only 1.9 lengths between those first 5 place getters. The winner got the favours. In that race, we only gave 96%. Now, write these down, because I didn't see, as I've been saying, what the Fluck Board percentages were, but this is what we gave. And I would say that they were, there's a good chance they might have said, oh, the top Fluck was about 12 or 15%. These were the Flucks. News Alert went from 50 out to $151. Scandiva went from 13 out to 21. Neither had a price. Mount Nebo, $4.60 out to $7.50 given, back into $4.60. I was $5 again at the finish trying to lay it. Pedreos went from 21 out to 41. 2 Blue, $5 out to $7, which you wouldn't see, but it was plenty of it, back into 6. Cluster, well, we reached for this, $3.50 out to $5.50, which you wouldn't see, back into $4.60. Fort Sumter, 40 out to 50, back into 30. The winner, Wineholt, now you wouldn't see this, was $9. It was a huge result for the captains because it didn't have a price. Will the owners of Wineholt please step forward? Well, it comes from Melbourne. I would say they didn't make the trip up, and the bookies in Melbourne, especially in the interstate ring, paid the penalty. They would have been, it would have been labelled down there. Big result up here because you wouldn't see it sitting on the lounge chair betting with the cancer of racing, or those corporates who say you think you're getting good odds. It was $9 out to $15 on the track. It was $15 on the fence with one of our biggest captain cookies. You could have had 14 million to $1 million off him when they jumped. He wouldn't have even wound it off. There's a good chance he would have made it $16. He didn't like it, I don't think. And it was $15 when they jumped. A big result, as I say. Now, Murder of Crows went from $4.80 out to $5.50. Going back to that, I'm not knocking anybody who lays something or backs something. When you're on a racetrack, your own opinion is and everybody makes a mistake. It's always easy when you pick people who make mistakes. I make that many mistakes. That's what my middle name should be, or my first name. They should call me Mistake Clark, because I make that many. It's not funny, and I'm wrong most of the time. What am I up to here? Murder of Crows, $4.80 Now, you wouldn't see it. Now, another one of our biggest captain cookies on the fence, one of our biggest captains, he gave $5.50. The best luck was $4.80. He gave $5.50 for a shite house fall. Started $4.80. By the same token, I think I laid 4,700 to 1,000 halfway through the betting when the $5 went off, but I was 4.80 again when they jumped. Yeah, I wound it off. You could it looked like it was going to start shorter. Maximilian went from 15 out to 21. Reflectance from $13 out to $16, and down the bottom, Master Stroke went from $21 out to 31. Only 96% in the last race. I told you what happened. If you were, oh no, wait there, very quickly. Today we had the meeting at Wyong. The track was a heavy 8. The rail was 2 metres out, and the close to the fence wasn't the place to be. Although in the third race and also the fourth race, I thought he made a blue, but these two runners, as it turned out, had something on the field. I'm talking about in race 3, what's it called? Look, whatever his name is, I can't even see. I'm had too many pen and inks. McDonald rode it. Bractiate. It went straight across from an outside alley and onto the fence. He dictated. It was resuming from a spell. He was close, not maybe 1 or 2 off, turning for home, and it won me a length and a half. Bowman came wide from barrier 3 after easing off heels to run second. It was the favourite, and the winner was the second pick. The winner, you wouldn't see it, was $4.40 into $3.20 well back. And in the very next race, Lucky Bubbles, well, it didn't get into trouble like it did last start at Gosford. It went straight to the front today, ridden by McDonald, and then after a runner, a 60 to 1 chance moved up on its outside, Vestitudes moved up on its outside. McDonald said, well, you can go around me. He let him go around me, then got off his heels and was on the outside of that runner coming to the turn, and then took off, and it won easily. It looks like it's a nice netty. It will win maybe in town. Got into a lot of, well, it was a very funny run last start at Gosford on a wet track, and there's a good chance this runner might finish up in honkers. Anyway, after those two runners did lead and stay, a little bit close to the fence, the rest of the day it was an advantage to be off the fence at Gosford, at Wyong today. Now we got to the last race at Wyong, and the favourite Alias, ridden by Horseman Bowman, it drew barrier 1. We put it up the 10 to 9 on favourite. Its win is trained by Joe Pride. It had a bit of a program up there in honkers. Had a run here, ran third, and then was produced last start at Gosford. It led at Gosford, and it trotted in, ridden by Ty Aglin. Today, Jay Bowman was on board and drew barrier 1, which wasn't the place to be. Bowman led on it, didn't have to go real hard in the lead, but being the cunning and clever rider he is, he was able to, as he was approaching coming down the side and approaching the turn, he was able to angle off the fence without causing any interference. And when they swung for home, he was a good 8 horses off the fence and getting the reins and going, come on there, and got to the middle of the track, as I say, and it took off extremely well, even though it looked like it was under pressure. But he was, I think the horse wanted to stay close to the rails, and the horse was saying, what are you doing taking me out here? If he would have stayed close to the rails, it still would have won. But he got to the middle of the track, as I say, and won by 4 odd lengths. It won easily. it will most probably win in town when it is produced produced in town by Joe Pride. That's all I can say over the weekend and during the week, and of course in the coming this coming week and forever and ever. When you're wire netting, whether you're fielding them or backing them, I hope you finish on the right side of the ledger. Good evening.